Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the GrowCast Show, episode 86. And today we have Sabrina, the founder of People's Inc. and Speaker Society. Welcome to the show, Sabrina.
Welcome, thank you.
All right, so let's get straight to the question. So Sabrina, what inspired you to start the Speaker Society and later launch the accelerator?
So it's very interesting because, when I actually started Speaker Society, it was actually by accident. So what happened was that I was taking this program with NAS Academy, and then they were saying that, okay, go do a meetup. So because of the meetup itself, the next day, someone from a friend of mine actually asked, can you help me create a stage? Because she wanted to speak in front of people, but she didn't get the opportunity for the past year. So I was thinking, okay, I can do my homework and then I can help someone. So I told her, okay, sure, let's do it. And that was actually our first event. And for some reason, after that event itself, things just took off on its own.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. That is launching your program while helping people at the same time, huh?
Correct. I get to finish my homework and then I also get to help someone.
Good. Did you always see yourself as a speaker or did it evolve over time?
I think it is more of evolving over time. So in my earlier days, I was actually a little bit in the media industry. So I was a blogger. I also did podcasting.
Okay.
I also I did a lot of media related activities and marketing activities. Then after that, because I moved into tech, so I kind of stopped so much front facing and more back facing. But whenever it's required for me to actually talk in front of a stage, because I need to present my product, I would have to speak. So it was only actually when I was taking a sabbatical from People's Inc. That I actually started exploring course creation and also other opportunities that might be interesting. And that's when, it kind of changed my concept of what speaking is from just, doing product presentations to actually being able to share a story, share a vision and kind of inspire people to actually improve themselves. Yeah, so
basically Speaker Society kind of evolved itself into the accelerator.
Correct. So how the accelerator came about is also because I mentioned that previously I run courses, right? So from running courses, I understand that, the incident how Speaker Society even came about, they couldn't find a stage. And the reason was because they don't know how to. And because they don't know how to, and I realized that there's this gap that if I could actually teach people how to not just speak on stage, but also be able to acquire the skill sets of getting onto the stage. That's how the kind of the led up to Speakers Society Accelerator.
Yeah, speaking of the gap, what gap in the speaking industry are you trying to solve with the Speaker Society Accelerator?
Okay, so the thing here is that a lot of people teach public speaking, but they don't teach you how to be able to get onto the stage to begin with. Because it's actually a little bit of mix of marketing, personal branding, and then from there, stage skills. Because the delivery itself is actually the public speaking portion. But to be able to even get to the stage itself is actually more on how you market yourself and how you kind of present yourself being the expert of that topic. So that's why when we came off the accelerator itself, we kind of crafted in a way where people not just only learn the public speaking elements of it, but also how to market themselves, how to create their personal brand, what is their top of mind. And we also teach them a bit of media skills, not just on stage, but also digitally.
How did your own speaking journey influence the structure of the program?
Okay. So that's a very good question. So the thing here is that, there's always the fast way of doing things and then the slow way of doing things. So when I was doing my own business itself, actually at the start, it was the slow way of doing things. And that because of that, I realized that people pay to be able to get an acceleration. That's why it's called an accelerator, to be able to not have to go through the trial and errors. I mean, a lot of my programs were actually based off that as well. I have a launch school program. And for this Speaker Society itself, I want to help people to actually accelerate that growth, because to actually achieve that top of mind, that doesn't actually require that many years. It's actually how you actually position yourself, how you market yourself, how you reach out to people and reach out to the right people. So if the right people know that when they think of a topic and they think think about you, that means you have achieved that top of mind. And the industry itself actually is quite small. So if someone recommends you, right, the group will also kind of like know that, okay, oh, if you need a speaker for this topic, this is the person to go to.
So what does elevating your voice to influence mean to you?
Okay, so I feel that your voice, right, is kind of like your opinion, your stories, your experiences. It can come in voice, like literally your voice, or it can come in words as well. That's why now I think that, like speakers itself, right, is kind of like in the next evolved revolution of like creators. So you know how it started off, right, from bloggers, then you have influencers, you have Instagrammers, and then after that it moved to this term called creators. I feel as if like, because nowadays everyone can be a creator as long as you have a social media account. So speakers is like this expert version of the creators. So having that social presence is actually also very important. Yeah.
What makes the Speaker Society Accelerator different from other public speaking programs?
Okay, so public speaking programs, right, actually helps you in terms of building your confidence, how you actually react on stage, how you actually, your tonality goes up, down, basically it focuses a lot on how you speak. In the Speaker Society Accelerator, right, we're not only just focusing on how you speak, but also how you present yourself, how you brand yourself, how you market yourself, who are the people that you should be reaching out to, how do you handle media interviews, and how do you actually monetize from it? Because at the end of the day, right, whether you are a creator, you are a speaker, you're KOL, or any industry that you actually put in effort and work in, it's still about monetization. So if you're not going to be able to make some income or any income at all, then there's no real value to actually pursue this career, because it can be quite taxing.
Is the Speaker Society Accelerator just for aspiring speakers, or can established speakers benefit too?
I would say that both can benefit, because the industry is ever changing, like blogging to Instagrammers, then after creators. So the industry will keep changing, and social media platforms will also keep changing. And the people that were previously like the organizers or the person in charge of a conference, of a workshop or event, they will also change. So you need to kind of like move with the times and the changes, the evolution that actually happens. So like even for myself, right, I'm quite good in tech. I've been in the industry for like over 10 years. Constantly, I'm taking programs to improve myself. Even the fact, like, when our first question, we were saying about, I actually mentioned about NAS Academy. I actually took up that program because I wanted to understand, like, right now, what creators are doing. How do you actually, go viral? How do you check your stats? What is important on the different platforms? And this is actually not things that I don't already know, but it's always good to keep upgrading yourself.
Can someone really go from not ready to confidently book on stage by learning in the Speaker Society Accelerator?
Okay, so to answer this question in a more honest manner, if let's say you are already an experienced speaker, that acceleration will be a lot faster. Probably within 3 months or so, we can probably get you booked confidently and quickly. But if let's say you are an aspiring speaker, I would say that you probably need to give yourself like 6 months to a year before you actually get well-paid gigs. And the reason for that is because if let's say you have no social presence, you kind of need to build that up. Because at the end of the day, right, whether you're a speaker, you're KOL, you're artist, people are also looking at, your expertise, your influence to be able to garner crowd for their event, their workshop. If you are just another person that, uses ChatGPT and then comes out with a nice script, that is not true knowledge, not true experience. So therefore, that it takes a bit of time to actually build up that top of mind, build up that personal branding, build up that memory for people to know that, okay, if I'm going for this topic, I'm going to go for you. And it's also a price point factor, right? So you probably have to start off first doing some pro bono, get yourself comfortable on stage. Like after doing so many like podcasts and, workshops, I became very comfortable on stage that like even for this podcast, I actually haven't even prepared yet.
How does the program blend AI automation into speaking and branding?
So it's a little bit like, accelerator, right? So you want a fast pace of doing things. So So the thing here is that you use AI, right? You can speed up things. I'm not saying that, ask AI to write me a script. I'm saying that not everyone are born writers. You can actually kind of like talk to your AI, say that, okay, these are the things that I want to cover. I have experience in this. Talk to it as if like you are instructing your intern or your juniors, because maybe you're not the person that writes the script. You get your juniors to write it. It's the same thing. So you get an AI to actually write it in your voice. So this way, it actually speeds up the entire process. So a script can be crafted within like minutes rather than hours or days. And sometimes, right, like most speakers, after some training, they tend to become more naturally talkative. And when they are more naturally talkative, right, they like to answer questions, especially when you are experienced in your field. So you can ask the AI to actually ask you questions. And from those questions itself, so it actually helps you to generate content that is actually very authentic and from your voice, because you're basically answering the question and using the AI to actually craft the entire script or article or content for you. So that's basically, like by doing that, it kind of utilizes the AI part. Of course, the automation part is like, there was this time that I went for a business speed dating. What happened was that we keep having to do this 2 minutes thing to introduce ourselves. I was so exhausted repeating myself over and over again. After the third time, right, I decided to just record my introduction. And then after that, the fourth person, I started playing it to the fourth person to the 10th person. So that actually saved a lot of time for me because I could rest my voice and it was very loud. And that is automation. Automation is actually to reduce those repetitive tasks.
What are your own speaking achievements that make you qualified to launch Speaker Society Accelerator?
So one thing here is that I always take myself as the case study. As a tech founder, right, we always believe in MVPs. So we will try to market test things first. So I use myself as an experiment, like how long would it take for me to go from a amateur speaker to become a professional speaker? So in 1 year, actually less than a year, I actually managed to start getting booked quite regularly. And my income went from initially like pro bono to like 500. And then my highest paid is actually 50,000 euros for just one speech. And that is like the acceleration process. That's why I call it an accelerator, because within 1 year, you can actually achieve this kind of results if you actually follow the steps and it's a bit more consistent in, like practicing everything that's been taught.
What's the number one myth people have about getting paid speaking engagements?
Number one myth. I think that people have this idea that, if you keep practicing the same speech over and over again, you will get booked often and, you're very polished and people, like, I think the myth here is that, and in a way, anyone can do it, but it is kind of like, yes, to some extent, anyone can do it because we always need teachers. We always need coaches. Corporates will always have workshops to actually enhance their employees. But I think that for me personally, I think speaking is not just workshops, but actually being on a stage and sharing my opinion, my voice, and how I do things with people. So I kind of prefer doing conferences over workshops in that sense. But of course, like speaking is still speaking. So long as you use your voice, you are still a speaker, just what kind of speaker.
Understood. Do you need a massive following or credentials to become a paid keynote speaker?
I would say that you need some following because at the end of the day, it's voice to influence. So if you keep going on stage, that's why I said to clock the pro bono first. As you're speaking, right, you influence people. And if you influence people, you will get followers. So I would say that you need some following, but of course, it will definitely help if you have a lot more following because especially if let's say you're trying to get booked for a keynote slot at a conference. I mean, we all know, right? If it's a conference, the reason why they will pay you so much to be the keynote speaker is also because that you draw crowd. So if let's say you have a lot of followers, means that more people will be drawn in for that event. That means more people will pay for the ticketing. And that's how they actually pay the speaker, isn't it? So I would say that, if let's say you have a bit more influence, you're a bit more community, you'll be able to get a better price point. But it's also true that not necessarily you must have a lot of following. And one of the case studies that I have here is that, so I experimented on one of my students from another program to actually get him to start speaking like getting speaking gigs. So within about like 2 months itself, and he doesn't have much following. Like we're talking about like 1,000 plus on Instagram, which most people have 1,000 plus on Instagram or TikTok, right? He actually managed to book himself 3 different speaking gigs that paid him between 1,200 to 4,000. So that's actually quite decent. But of course, some context here is he is a teacher. So because he has already a certain skill set, so mixing that skill set and, like him practicing the outreach that I taught him, he managed to get himself booked. Not super big stage, but still a stage nonetheless.
Is the speaking business only for extroverts or naturally confident people?
I think that it would be easier for confident people for sure. Extroverts, it would be easier for extroverts, but I wouldn't say that it is an issue for introverts. I don't know which speakers are introverts or extroverts, but I am quite sure quite a number of speakers out there are actually introverts. I recall one of the speakers, quite well-known speakers, are actually introverts. But personally, right, I would say that because, like speaking is kind of like marketing in that sense. You need to speak to people, you need to market something. They're also kind of, in a way, you would say that, like salespeople are great speakers, not necessarily stage speakers, but they speak a lot, right? But quite a number of my employees that are in the BD department are actually introverts. So if an introvert can do sales, I'm quite sure they can also train themselves to be able to become speakers, right? It's just at the end of the day how they gain their energy, how they kind of like reset themselves. The main difference between extroverts and introverts is really the energy element, how they recharge.
How easy or hard is it for a beginner to get their first paid speaking gig?
I actually answered that question. Okay, so it is not that difficult. It's really how you position yourself. So one of the speakers that I was training before this accelerator program. So one of the speakers that I kind of like trained was that I told him to actually follow this script and then reach out to people on LinkedIn for I think he did about 6 weeks. So after 6 weeks, right, someone actually got back to him and said that, hey, this topic about like Gen Zs is actually very interesting. If I pay you a nominal fee, right, do you think that you can actually do this as a workshop for one of our employee sessions? So he actually managed to get himself booked in about 6 weeks. The only problem was that I haven't trained him on the speaking yet. So now I'm kind of like rushing through the speaking part. But yes, it is actually possible to be done like small gigs like this within a period of maybe about 6 weeks.
Is that a record time or is it?
I think record time was 3 weeks.
Wow, 3 weeks.
But it really depends on how much effort you put in,
I assume your student have that foundation already.
I would say that it's more of, the reality here is that corporates have workshops very regularly, and there are a lot of corporates. There's a lot of associations out there that basically there's a lot of opportunities. You have so many events going on a day-to-day basis. So that means speakers are actually very well sought out for. The thing here is that how do you position yourself for those opportunities? And I think the main thing here is that by connecting with more people, networking with more people, you might somehow or other, you will start getting those opportunities. Maybe at the start, you might not get paid that much, but eventually you will reach there.
What is the number one most important character trait that will help a new or even experienced speaker get more and bigger speaking gigs?
I think one thing is being human, building that human connection. Because at the end of the day, I feel that this industry is a little bit more traditional in that sense. People actually connect with people more by when they actually get to know the person better. So if actually this goes back to a very, very simple, relationship building. If you like the person, right, you want to hire the person more, right? If you don't like the person, right, even if the person is the best speaker, there will be 10 other speakers that can do the same topic. So why not hire the 10 other speakers? So I think that the ability to network, build human connections is still very important. And of course, no matter how famous you become, I think it's still very important to remember where you started off from and be a little bit more humble and kind.
What would you say to someone who's afraid no one wants to hear their story?
Okay, so this, right, this triggers me a bit because I realized that, right, there is no such thing as no one wants to hear your story. It's just who are you telling the story to? So it's a very limiting belief that you feel as if like, oh, no one cares. This statement, no one cares about me, is very negative. The thing is that people do care, but not everyone cares. But you don't need everyone. You just need people that resonate with you to care for you, because those are the people that are important. You can't possibly please everyone in the world. It's more important to please the people that actually aligns with you, and you'll be a lot happier that way as well.
How do you respond when people say, I'm too busy to invest in Speaker Society Accelerator now?
This is like a trick question kind of thing, you see. People will always say that they are busy because one, they could be really busy. Two, could be time management issue. Three is a nice way of saying that I'm not interested. I feel that speaking is actually something that even if you don't become a professional speaker, it's always a good to know and it's always a good to have. Because whether you are speaking on stage or you're, in a boardroom speaking to people, you're still using your voice. You are still trying to influence people. So speaking is actually voicing out. And I think that is very important so long as, you live in this first world or even third world, whichever world, as long as you're human, you need to connect with people, you need to speak.
What's the ROI of becoming a speaker beyond just getting paid speaking gigs?
I think the ROI here is the claps, the happy faces, the people that you get to help. Because your story can influence, at least even if it influences one person, you're influencing someone for the better. Because at the end of the day, right, money is always great. But if you can actually create that transformation, that impact to another person, that is actually more fulfilling. I'm not really doing this for money per se, although of course, having the extra budget for shopping is great. But it's more of, I really do want to help people gain that freedom of choice, whatever time they want to wake up, whatever they feel like buying, they feel like traveling, because you only live once, right? So if you're going to only live once, better be live happily and, live great.
What's the number one fear you see holding most speakers back, and how do you help them overcome it?
So this is something that goes back to the previous question as well. It's a limiting belief and also the confidence and them telling themselves that they are not sure if they can do it or not. I think that most people's greatest barrier is actually themselves. They tell themselves they can't do it, even though when people are telling them they are actually damn awesome. For some reason, they feel as if they're just not good enough. And I see that a lot, which is in a way, it's kind of sad because I find myself spending a lot more time trying to encourage them to kind of walk out of what they feel they're not good enough than actually imparting the skill sets of them to excel further. But I think it is still essential for that mindset shift, because once you realize that you are actually good enough, and good enough is actually very individualistic. You don't have to be the best speaker. You just need to share your story because someone out there would benefit from it.
For those worried about investing in the Speaker Society Accelerator, what results have your past participants seen?
Okay, so this is our first round of our accelerator. So I'm going to reference instead of my past programs. So my other program, which is called the Royal Launch School under the Royal Visionary Society umbrella. So I've been running that for about 22 months. The idea here was also freedom as the aspect. I wanted people to be able to achieve freedom of time, freedom of wealth, freedom of location and happiness. I think in some sense it's similar, just that the positioning for that program is actually more of creating your digital business and being able to grow in that style. For this program itself, it's actually more towards having speaking as the frontlining tool. So for the Royal Launch School, I actually managed to, about 70% of my students actually graduated pretty well, gaining about 4 to 5 digits income on average. And of course, there's some people that excel really, really well. And there are also people that kind of dropped out. So I think my best record for helping people to achieve that freedom, I had this one student and she's 70 years old.
70?
So she really wanted to become a tech entrepreneur. I don't know why she had this idea, I want to go into tech, because she actually has a double PhD in psychology. So she's actually very established already, but she wanted to go in tech. And as a 70-year-old that has no background in tech, right, it's actually going to be very tough. But she was very persistent and followed through with everything that was being taught to her. And during our demo day, so every quarter we have this demo day, she actually managed to land a 5 million funding deal.
Wow.
So she actually managed to actually build her tech.
Oh, wow, that's impressive. Who is the Speaker Society Accelerator specifically built for?
I think it's built for different kinds of people. So for coaches and trainers, it's actually how you actually, is to help them to actually communicate better in a way, to be able to actually share their expertise to a wider audience. It's also for that person that, feels very timid, feels very shy, to actually break out of that shell, to become someone that's a little bit more confident. Because like I mentioned, speaking is not just about, being on a big stage. It's also having that courage to walk into your boss's office and say that, hey, I've been working here for like 10 years. I should have an increment. So that is also speaking, using your voice to be able to communicate something constructively and getting something that you actually truly should have.
Very good. Can you share 2 to 3 successful speaker case studies of new speakers that you mentioned personally?
So right now I have these 2 particular ones which I mentioned earlier. So one of them is used to be a preschool teacher. So he actually quit his job. Then after that, start to pursue, content creation and speaking as a career. And within I think it's been 3 months. So his highest paid gig right now is, if I'm not mistaken, is almost 5,000. So regularly he'll get gigs between 1,000 to 3,000. 5,000 is basically, right now the ceiling. We're trying to break that ceiling, of course. And we get gigs probably every 1-2 weeks because he does his outreach quite frequently. The other one right now is also about the third month mark as well. But because he has a full-time job, so that's why he's not able to really accelerate as quickly. But he will be at the Speaker Society Accelerator. I think so far he has gotten 3 paid gigs already, but very small, short kind of paid gigs, not workshops, but just speeches.
Interesting. Can you share a story of a member who transformed both internally and externally by joining the Speaker Society?
Okay, so one of the members that I feel has the greatest transformation is actually Kelly. So she was actually she was one of my students from my previous program. Then after that, she actually kind of joined Speaker Society as a founding member. From being a founding member, now she's actually the co-founder of Speaker Society. I find that her transformation is the most remarkable, right? Because she used to be that girl that it doesn't take action, but doesn't really confront people. So for a person that has that kind of persona that likes to avoid things, sales is almost an impossible thing to do. So, as a speaker, right? And if you're kind of like a solopreneur kind, right? You are the salesperson, you're the marketing person, you're basically the entire workforce is you, one person. Right now, she actually is our top sales, meaning to say she is the person that also kind of talks to the speakers, talks to the sponsors, talks to the organizers to kind of help the speakers get placements. So I think that is a very great transformation because from someone that used to be, that a little bit more quiet and more yes person to someone that is able to front something and advocate something that she personally feels meaningful. Yeah.
What can someone expect when they join the Speaker Society Accelerator? What's the vibe like?
I would say that if you're talking about Speaker Society as a whole, right, we are really like a community. I feel as if it's an extended family. I say extended family because how sometimes, family members, you will tend to be yourself. I mean, the darkest and the best moments are always with your family. So I find Speaker Society has kind of like that family vibe because I don't hold back. I'm the nicest and yet the worst at the same time. But of course, we don't don't go too far, but at the same time, we don't hide ourselves. I don't like the feeling of always putting up a front. I feel that it's very important to be authentic. And as a speaker itself, right, if you are reading from a script, people can tell. And if you're telling the truth, people can feel it.
All right. There are many content creators and influencers nowadays, but they are not making money. Is Speaker Society Accelerator suitable for them?
Oh, yes, definitely. In fact, right, I would say that when it comes to creators, right, it's actually easier for them because what is the bare minimum that creators need to do? Create content. And what do speakers do? Create content. Both aspects actually requires a lot of camera time and being able to speak in front of a crowd. I would say that most creators will be able to do the content portion being in front of the camera, but maybe not so much on the crowd. That's why the accelerator comes in, right? Because we will help them to actually feel comfortable speaking in a crowd.
How much time, energy, and effort is required to make an extra 10K per month as a speaker?
I would say that you first need to actually build up your foundations first. You need to build up a bit of profile and of course case study, testimonials, portfolio. I would say give yourself about like 6 months to a year to be able to hit that 10,000 mark. And also when it comes to whether it is speaking, being a creator, running a business, it's also progressive growth and also being consistent. There's no chance, I mean like most of the time we don't see like, you start a business and then the first month itself you become like, I get $10,000. It's not so realistic. If let's say you're really starting from scratch, I would say that you probably need to give it a little bit of time and kind of like build it up. But to be able to maybe get like between a good 2 to 5,000 range at the start, I think that is quite doable because like I said, there's actually a lot of opportunities out there. If a nominal fee would be between like $200 to $500, example, okay? So if let's say you are looking at, like the bare minimum at 2,000, you basically need to clock yourself 4 workshops, small workshops. So 4 small workshops a month, I think that's very doable, right? And from there, you can kind of like scale it up. So once you have the first 4 workshops already, you have kind of like a case study. So the next time round, you don't have to do it at $500 mark. You can do it at $1,000 mark. So similarly 4 workshops, now you're actually making $4,000. So it's the same as doing business. It multiplies as time goes by. And if let's say you keep a good rapport with the people that hire you, you get rehired all the time.
How fast can students see results when they join the Speaker Society Accelerator?
I think that if, let's say, you are aggressive, if you have some base, like for example, you have some content creation base already, a little bit of influence, I would say within like 3 months, you should be able to see some results. If let's say you're really from scratch, then I would say give it a little bit more time, get the foundations right. Probably about 6 months, 9 months down the road, you probably can see more tangible results. But at the end of the day, like for myself, it took me 12 months in total to be able to make this actually a sustainable income stream.
What is the guarantee of success that you have for those that invest in the Speaker Society Accelerator?
I would say success comes in different forms. Some people are looking to achieve just the ability to speak their mind because some people can't even voice out. They can't even go to their boss for an increment. So different people's success gauge would be different. But if let's say you're talking about really like monetary success, so like I mentioned, in 1 year itself, I did put in quite a bit of effort to, like get my name out there as well. I think my highest paying was like 50,000 euros. And I actually got booked for 8 retainers upfront. So that's actually like 400,000 euros that I have already clocked for the coming year itself. So it's pretty much set. If let's say you follow a similar route, even if you fall short, you probably wouldn't fall too far from the tree.
What is your long-term vision for Speaker Society and also the Accelerator?
To be honest, I much like my Royal Launch School program, I do actually want to start a not really a charity, but more of a project to actually help people that are that can't really afford it. So meaning to say, like for example, like off 100 people that actually sign up for this program, we actually sponsor maybe 5 to 10 people that are of certain categories to be able to actually join this program as well. Because I do believe that this program, regardless what your end goal looks like, you will still gain something from it. Because at bare minimum, you gain that confidence to be able to talk to people, to be able to talk on a stage. But of course, if you excel in it, this becomes a good revenue stream for yourself.
If someone joins now, what kind of future can they create in 6 to 12 months?
If someone joins now and they put in the effort, they will definitely get booked. In terms of future, it really depends how much effort you put in. Like, it's as simple as, right, if you take a job and then you take it and then you try at best to keep, lay low, do bare minimum, the chances of you climbing the corporate ladder isn't going to be very high, right? So it's the same thing here. Everyone can be a creator, but not everyone can be a paid creator, right? And the reason here is simple, because if you don't put in that effort, you're not going to get that results. And from all the people that I've seen so far, whether it is a creator doing their own business, it's really about how much effort you put out there. 2 people that put in the same effort might not get the same results, but both of them will get results.
Very insightful answers we have from Sabrina so far. And that's all we have for episode 86. Thank you, Sabrina, for joining us for episode 86 of the GrowCast Show. We'll see you next time. Adios.